Neymar wants PSG stay, Arsenal humiliated by Villa, Conte still chasing Kante, a transfer roundup, and today's Emoji Mondays all coming up in the next few minutes as I'm your host Matt Froelich, you are the OneFootballers, and this is the Daily News. First up, and apparently Neymar has told sporting director Leonardo at PSG that he wants to remain at the club and sign a new contract. This is obviously a massive U-turn from what he's been saying pretty much ever since he joined the club, that he wants to go back to Barcelona. I think he's realised that Barca do not have the money. We spoke last week about them being hit with a massive tax bill and having to reduce their wages and potentially declaring bankruptcy, although I don't think it will go that far. So it's clear that they do not have the 200+ million to spend on Neymar, then to throw some ridiculous wages at him on top. The problem is that the boat may have sailed for a big new bumper contract at PSG. I'm not saying they're not going to re-sign him, but certainly he doesn't have the power that he once had, and that is because of the, well, let's just say domination of Kylian Mbappe in PSG's minds. He is the star of the future. Mbappe is the guy they need to hold on to more than anyone else. And so the fact that Neymar's actually only got 18 months left on his contract just shows that maybe PSG are prioritising the French forward over the Brazilian talisman. Having said that, of course, there will still be money involved whatever happens with Neymar. If he re-signs, if he leaves the club and moves elsewhere, Neymar will get a rather healthy wage rise. We know that for sure. I'm just not so sure whether he's top of PSG's priority list at the moment. The whole reason he's come back and said that he wants to stay kind of makes him look a little bit sheepish, but who really knows what is going on behind the scenes? I'm sure PSG would love to keep them both as they aim to get back to the Champions League final, and who knows, maybe this time win the whole thing. Moving on though, and to Arsenal, who were absolutely humiliated at home by Aston Villa in a game which honestly is such in dire contrast to Mikel Arteta's form from last weekend, where Arsenal won 1-0 at Manchester United. So to go from that to this humbling 3-0 defeat at home to Villa, well, there's a lot of things to pick apart here. First off, Aston Villa are literally 2020 in a football team. Some things are great, some things are absolutely terrible. No one knows which Aston Villa you're going to get, but when Grealish and Barkley are on form, my God, do they look like a different animal. Grealish was on fire, and as for Ollie Watkins, the man knows how to find the back of the net. 2 goals for him and an own goal from Bukayo Saka meant that, well, Villa picked up an amazing 3 points. And the thing with Mikel Arteta for me, he's almost trying to be too perfect. I know it sounds a little bit ridiculous, but the way that he is obviously learned from Guardiola, and you look at the way that Guardiola and Klopp play, especially in their 1-1 draw between Liverpool and Manchester City, they're very much perfectionists. Like, all the drills, all the game plans, all the tactics are so well drilled into the team throughout the week that they're just trying to replicate it on the weekend. There doesn't seem to be any sort of space for something different to happen, space for a plan B. They stick to their tactics, which allows them to dominate the league 95% of the time. And the same thing goes for Arteta. He just doesn't have the players for it. Arsenal aren't at that level where they can just recreate what they've learned on the training ground, because when something goes wrong or the players aren't having the best of games, there doesn't seem to be any room for them to adapt to it within the match. Like, they started off on the wrong foot with a goal that was scored within a minute that was then disallowed. They then conceded in the first half, and then things just went from bad to worse. And as Aston Villa went through, scored 2-3, they could have had 4 or 5, and Arsenal never really looked like getting back into the game. I've no doubt that Arteta's methods are helping Arsenal, and they're doing really well, but it seems like their game plan is just so rigid that as soon as one thing is knocked off course, it kind of throws them off. Next up though, and talking about Conte and Kante, can never really remember which one is pronounced in which way. But anyway, Inter Milan manager Antonio Conte is still interested in bringing N'Golo Kante to the club from Chelsea. Now, the French midfielder, well, he did really well under Conte a few years ago, and then in Lampard's first season didn't quite manage to get a good run of form, basically due to a lot of injuries. Having said that, this season, Kante started all 8 games for Chelsea as well as the Champions League matches, and he's been a good run of form. Still, you can't help but think that Frank Lampard would be open to send the midfielder should Chelsea get a lot of money for him. Maybe 60 to 70 million could do the trick. I mean, they'd only go and sell him if they had a replacement lined up, and it looks as though Declan Rice is still on Chelsea's radar. Conte has made a few good signings for Inter Milan in the past year and a bit, and apparently he sees the World Cup winning midfielder Kante as the perfect piece to fit the puzzle to take them to the Serie A title. It looks like a good move for Inter. I think it'd be a good move for Kante. He'd equally be fine staying at Chelsea, but if they want to go and head and sign Declan Rice and maybe look to the future for Chelsea, this could be a deal that works out for all parties involved. So next up, and a quick roundup of the rest of the news that you might have missed from the weekend, and Joshua Kimmich has had surgery on an injury which will see him out until the new year. Elsewhere, and Harry Kane's winner for Tottenham was his 150th goal in the Premier League, joining a rather elite club. Alongside this, and Real Madrid conceded 3 penalties in the match for the first time ever. And Carlos Soler scored every single one as they lost 4-1 to Valencia. And lastly but not least, there was a pretty good weekend for Barcelona considering that Real lost, and a Messi-inspired Barcelona won 5-2 against Real Betis, aside from the fact that Ansu Fati may also need to undergo surgery after an injury to him. So moving on then, and a quick run up of your Friday feels. This is where you guys left your footballing predictions in the comment section on Fridays daily. And before we start, gonna give myself a little bit of props. I made 3 predictions, got 2 of them right. City, Liverpool, and Dortmund, Bayern. I'm pretty proud of myself. Anyway, it's not about me though, it's all about you guys. First off, Firth Gamer guessed that Dortmund would lose 3-2 at home to Bayern. Fantastic prediction. Adib Abra guessed that Atalanta would hold Inter Milan to a 1-1 draw in Syria. And Chinonso Ahamefule, I think I've pronounced that right, apologies if not, guess that Real Madrid would drop points and Barcelona would take all 3 in their game. So finally, lastly but not least, we're moving on to Emoji Mondays. This is where we at OneFootball throw a couple of emojis down over some of the weekend's hottest action. And first off, the best player, I've already mentioned it, I think Jack Grealish was utterly fantastic. A brilliant performance from him away at the Emirates. And on top of this, Hakim Ziyech was also brilliant as Chelsea dismantled Sheffield United. Next up, and the worst player goes to Rafa Varane. Honestly, still a world-class defender, still one of the best in the game, but a shocking own goal for him to concede and being part of the defence which gave away 3 penalties as they lost 4-1 like I mentioned. Not exactly the best weekend of the office for the central defender. And finally, the shock result, we're going back to the Emirates again because winning 3-0 against Arsenal is a wonderful result for Aston Villa. Just smash the like button and click here or here to check out all of the other videos we've got going on OneFootball. But until next time, I'll see you guys later.